Hey, good afternoon. Greg White and Scott Luton here with you on Supply Chain Now. Greg, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty darn well. Scott, how are you doing?
Doing good. It's been a busy week here at Supply Chain Now.
Well, speak for yourself. I've been
big day. Big day.
Indeed.
Episode 600 dropped earlier today. Featured Amanda Luton, who's usually behind the camera, behind the microphone, sharing some of her favorite takeaways, especially over the last 100 episodes.
Yeah,
and it's always neat to kind of, because I think all of us as hosts kind of tick mark some of our favorite moments, favorite interviews, what have you, and it's always really cool to hear from folks that have different roles to play here in the business, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to hear from the community as well, right? So we're going to hear from a lot of folks. I think a lot of these folks were not with us yet when we did episode 500. Is that right?
Sounds good to me. Sounds right.
Right. I mean, it's getting so hard to keep track now, right?
Well, along those lines, some of my favorite moments, especially in the last 100, were from the Davins and Azalia and Peter, who were able to snag some time with each of them directly. That, and of course, the slew of guests, a slew of new series, which we're going to touch on throughout the hour here today. Mm-hmm. And it's important. We noted it on the episode. This is 600. No episode count is a finish line, right? This is a big journey. We're as excited about the next 600, as Amanda alluded to, as we have been the first 600. We've learned so much. We have there's so much to cover across the world of global business, and with these different series, these different points of view, these different folks that specialize and come from different aspects of business, we're going to be able to have a better, holistic, well-rounded approach to covering what's going on in global business, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think, our strategy has been concentric circles. I love that area. You focus on an area, you own it, and then opportunistically move out into additional areas. So yeah, I think the vision you've always communicated, Scott, is the Barstool Sports of business, right? I can't wait until you get thrown out of the Super Bowl like David Portnoy did from Barstool Sports. I'm going to be right there beside you right until you're thrown out, and then I'm staying.
I'll just celebrate that I can afford a Super Bowl ticket at some point. So getting a new battery.
That's an irony. Rich people don't actually pay for their Super Bowl tickets, right? Some corporate buys it for them.
Well,
that's the amazing thing.
There's a lot more stories there, and that is the vision, though. There's so much to cover, and there's so many voices to amplify, and stories that deserve to be told, and that's where it is such a rewarding, for both of us to work with all these incredible hosts and these different series. And of course, one of our North Stars is hear from all the folks in the comments right now, all the folks that are in different niches and sectors and different roles across the world. So
I had to show Gary that the palette is still present. You know what else I think is really fascinating is that we're counting 600 episodes, just the Supply Chain Now titled episodes. We're well over 700.
Right.
If you count Tequila Sunrise and Tech Talk and Dial P for procurement and Digital Transformers and some of our newer shows as well. I mean, Of course, my favorite, Supply Chain is Boring. We are well over 700. So, it is the growth is even starting to outpace our ability to count. And soon we'll be celebrating 100 or so episodes of some of these other shows.
I've got an abacus on order from Amazon, so we're covered. We're covered soon.
Can you explain to people what an abacus is, Scott?
No, I've hard enough time with a protractor. But hey, let's do this. So what we're going to do through this very informal live stream here today, we're going to say hello to a few folks here momentarily, and then we're going to bring in a few waves of folks that are kind of waiting in the green room. We're going to feature some of our hosts and get some of their favorite takeaways. We're going to feature some of our incredible pros kind of behind the scenes, Amanda, Clay, and maybe, who knows, maybe a few others. And of course, we want to feature, to our folks in the comments, our community. Hey, what's been some of your favorite interactions or episodes, or some of your favorite things that other comments that you've seen? We've learned so much from the 4D conversation that takes place through our live streams and other conversations. So let's do this, Greg. Before we bring in our guests, I want to say hello to a few folks. I want to talk Tequila Sunrise momentarily. You had a really special episode published yesterday. We're moving it to a new day. So let's say hello to a few folks first. So Cindy Palmer got the alert. Hey, how about that? Things work sometimes.
LinkedIn is stepping it up for our 600th episode, right?
That is right. And I believe Cindy is with, I think she's got a new headshot, but vets2industry.org, which is a wonderful nonprofit serving our veterans community. Muhammad via YouTube. Great to see you again, Muhammad.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us. David, good afternoon. And yes, I hope your LinkedIn feed works today too. LinkedIn has been really shaky over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Cynthia Fields is with us.
Congestion.
Everything.
Why not? Everybody else is using that as an excuse.
That's right. Hey, the Suez Canal is blocked. LinkedIn, that's why we're going down.
Right.
Cynthia Fields is with us. Kelly Barner is in the green room already commenting. I look forward to sharing her momentarily. Aaron, thanks so much. You were part of the journey, big part of the journey. Look forward to your big announcement soon. Peter Boley, and the show begins. Cheers to all in attendance. This is going to be a fun hour. Agreed. Greg, ASCM's chapter, the El Paso Juarez chapter, they are their Twitter game is on fire.
It is.
Of course, their LinkedIn and Facebook. But we've got to grab someone from this chapter on the move at some point, right?
I wonder who it is. I mean, I've never met an actual person, but whoever it is whoever runs all this is very witty, very diligent, right? I honestly, I want to go to El Paso. I'm a big fan of El Paso, and that's what we need to do. We need to get like an RV and just roll down there.
Got a van. We got our starters kit.
Yeah. The RV starter.
I think that's a Marty Robbins song, isn't it? We talked about El Paso. Maybe not. Y'all,
I think you're thinking Amarillo, but maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Anna Mary is with us. Great to see you, Anna Mary. Sophia, hey, good morning. Finally made it to a live stream again. Sophia has been doing some great work and co-hosting some of the early episodes of Supply Chain Now in Espanol. Trisha is with us. All about valuable people behind the scenes. Great to see you, Trisha. Badri via LinkedIn. Great to see you, Badri. Joe. Aaron Freed is back. Watch out. Old School is back. So great to see everybody. Okay. So we've got a couple minutes here before we bring in, and we can't get to everybody. Thanks so much. We look forward to showcasing some of y'all's favorite takeaways.
Yeah.
Greg, I want to turn the tables a bit before we bring in Chris and Kelly. Tequila Sunrise, speaking about things been on fire. Man, you've been on a roll in this last episode where we're getting a ton of feedback in the first 36 hours of it being published, I believe, if my math is right. Tell us about that episode and what's next for Tequila Sunrise.
Yeah, well, I interviewed my middle daughter, who is in the arguably supply chain tech industry, Delaney, and that episode, there's so much to learn from that episode, not the least of which is I'm one hell of a parent. Totally kidding. But she did take her youth seriously, and she has learned a lot, and she is performing really well. She's very insightful, introspective, and recently, I mean, a lot of the response that I've gotten included somebody that she called out as a fantastic leader of Gen Z, and yet this person, Adam Chambliss, his first comment was, "Thank you for this information to help me improve being a leader of young professionals." And yet he's already really, really excellent. Now, if that isn't a lesson in leadership, I don't know what is. But yeah, it's been a great joy. We had some fun. The episode was in person because we were quarantining, whatever you call it these days together. We're not exactly quarantining.
Ducking and diving.
Yeah, right. We're not exactly quarantining in Georgia, but anyway, we did the episode in person. I'd encourage you to get a look at it. We're going to drop the YouTube version today, or I don't know if we have dropped it. We have dropped it, says Amanda. No,
Today.
we are dropping it today. Sorry, I'm looking at hand signals in the green room. So she's about to yell around the corner to you. Anyway, yeah, right. We are dropping it today. So check it out on YouTube. You'll actually get to see two people talking in a single room together.
Wonderful. And we look here.
Yeah.
Peter
Fantastic.
says it was epic. Listen to it today. And
Wow,
that's really
high praise.
That is high praise from Peter, who is he tells it like it is, which I love. But we've heard from several folks about the interview with you and Delaney, and love that. Love what Tequila Sunrise focuses on, and more folks need to know about what all generations think when it comes to leadership and engagement and successful careers and lessons learned and whatnot. So, special episode, Greg.
Yeah, I think look, if as objectively as I can look at it, I think the important thing to take away there is that the future is bright. It's really inspired me, and we'll talk about my favorite episodes a little bit later, but it's really inspired me towards looking at some of my favorite episodes as we've gone through time here.
Love it. Okay, couple comments, and we're going to bring in the wave. David says, El Paso is indeed a Marty Robbins song. Thank you, David.
So sing, I'm getting it confused with Amarillo by Morning. All these Texas towns have a song. So.
George Strait, that one. And then
there's an older version of that, but yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, you're right. Houston. And I don't know who sings that song, but I heard that song about 15 times in the span of 2 hours at Nashville one time at Robert's.
Roberts. Were you having a fried bologna sandwich?
Yes, with my in-laws, my wonderful family, and enjoyed our time there and look forward to getting back in person.
So hum a few bars of the El Paso song, because I honestly cannot remember it.
It's been too long since I heard that.
Okay. That song. Yeah. Yes.
All right, no more singing for me today.
In the West Texas town of El Paso.
Yes.
I fell in love. Yeah. Okay, got it.
Okay. All right. So, David, thanks so much, I think, for opening that can of worms. Let's celebrate some really good news here. Rhonda got first COVID shot. That is awesome to hear. Opened up to everyone in Arizona over 16 years old. Huge game changer for our community. Rhonda, that is awesome. And hopefully all of our folks that are tuned in here today, whether you're seeing the live or the replay, is getting that nice peace of mind with whatever vaccine that you're getting. So that's great. Okay. So we could sing and talk for a long time.
Bring somebody else in here, shouldn't we?
Let's do it. So let's bring in Chris Barnes, host of our Supply Chain is Boring, and Kelly Barner, host of Dial P for Procurement. Oh, the doctor is out. The doctor is out.
What happened there?
He's being boring. This is behind the scenes of what boring looks
He's
like.
already bored by us, I think.
Well, either that or he's ready to sing and jump into a really bad karaoke or
he's got another Texas town he's getting the visual or audio for. Yeah.
Kelly, how are you doing? Good morning to you.
I am doing good. Congratulations, guys. I know I'm a late addition, but congrats on 600 and awesome hello to everybody in the audience. I love hanging out with the Supply Chain Now crowd.
Well, likewise, the important note, even though your series is new, we've been collaborating for a long time, and it's always neat to find new ways of working with people that you really admire and think very highly of. So, and Dial P is off to a very fast start.
It is.
Thanks to great guests and great sponsors like Hicks. That wonderful a couple episodes with thought leaders there. But we'll see our team.
Well, and also the red phone, which I notice you have right there. So.
And it works.
Don't you
plugged it in? It actually, you have to get an adapter, but it actually works. It's awesome.
Really?
I love it. So Azalea, Chris. So we're gonna see.
We probably ought to try. Let's try him again. Let's see if we can get him in here again.
Yes, we're gonna see if our team's working fast and furiously on the feed.
Weird. We can see his video right in the green room, but
well, we'll work on that
anyway.
Again. So Kelly, let's move right along. We'll work to get Chris to join in here shortly, but tell us, especially looking at the last 100 episodes, what's been a couple of your favorite moments there?
So I know I shared with you for today's podcast that Steve Sterling from MAP International I found incredibly inspiring. He just squeaks in at 5:06. And then I had to go back. One of the other interviews that I liked because it made me start to think differently about business value was the conversation that you guys had with Lance Theobald at Secure Space. So his company does sort of like an Airbnb, specifically in congested cities for logistics equipment and trailers. And it really did remind me that it's not as simple as, okay, do we have assets? Are we asset free? If there is a unique challenge somewhere in the world in supply chain logistics, there is a clever person or team of people out there ready to solve it. That was a problem I had never conceived of. It's obviously needed once you hear them talk about it. So for me, that one, it's like a reminder to keep your ear to the ground on what are those remaining unaddressed problems.
What a great observation there. And Greg, we've alluded to this and probably talked about it in a number of different ways. One of the silver linings, you never want to see, some of the empty shelves and some of the things that were byproducts of this unique time we live in. However, the flip side of that is now that we've experienced it, both as supply chain leaders and as business leaders, it's going to be it's no longer a blind spot in terms of what might happen. And so we'll be better prepared next go around. Greg, what's some of your take on what Kelly just shared?
Well, I mean, I think that just the breadth of people that we've talked to, because some of those conversations, they were impactful in the moment, but we have so many impactful conversations. I think it's really interesting to see what people attach to, right? And, I hadn't thought about Secure Space. I do recall that being an incredibly impactful discussion, but it is amazing how prolonged that impact can be among the folks in the community.
Yeah. And we don't just have to keep reinventing the same things better, right? There's new problems to get out there and attack. And Scott, I do have to say, I know it's technically not completely under the Supply Chain Now banner, but Veterans Voices is amazing.
Yeah.
Those are conversations that make you laugh and make you want to cry and hit you in the heart. What an incredible group of people. So absolute shout out to everyone that's ever been on Veterans Voices, everyone that's ever supported it. That is great storytelling at work.
Thank you very much, Kelly. The whole team here has deeply invested in that series. That is a big part of our give back, because talk about voices that aren't heard enough, issues aren't talked about enough. We've all seen movement being made, thankfully, in the last 10 years, 15 years, although we've been at war for 20. It's been very rewarding to be part of that and working as a team to elevate the voices and perspective and stories there. So thanks for shouting that out. And we're let's see here, we're 30 episodes in, and we've got a lot more to do there. Okay, so and by the way, great partners like vets2industry.org. And if I'm getting that URL wrong, y'all please drop it in the comments. Partnering with a nonprofit that really serve that valuable community is really important. All right, I got to share a couple things here. So David says it has changed a lot about how people view their supply chains, and it's not my fault. Scott brought up the tune.
You know what he said before that? He's humming it in his head, and I got to tell you, now I am too. Right?
Let's see here. Cindy says new problems keep things interesting. I agreed. I wish sometimes they were in a petri dish in a controlled environment.
Amen.
Right, as we figured out, but hey, it is what it is. Jenny, Veteran Voices, thanks for that, Jenny. And great to see you, by the way. Jenny, who partners with us on our Africa focused live stream series, which we've had some really cool episodes, Greg, and teeing up our third one, right?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like Jenny is one of us, right? I mean, she is sort of our connection to the largest continent. I think it's the largest continent. It's way in the heck up there if it's not. Asia may be bigger, but anyway. And there's so much happening there. I was thinking about it the other day as we were on a show, how in some ways Africa has leapfrogged so-called established economies by skipping over some of the old infrastructure that we have by never having had that. Banking is a great example, right? So many people are unbanked in Africa. And anyway, don't want to get too far off base, but it is amazing some of the tangents that we explore by exploring supply chain around the world.
Excellent point. All right. So Chris is back. Keep your fingers crossed. We're going to see if we can swoosh him in. And by the way, folks, before this is all said and done, we're going to have a screen full of folks. I think we're going to have probably 9 or 10 folks in the stream. But Chris, host of Supply Chain is Boring. Hey.
The doctor is in.
Scott, that's what happens when you have
With an abacus.
That's what happens when you have a show during lunchtime or during nap time. So things go wrong.
You know what?
I'm having trouble staying awake here.
We've always prided ourselves on not having props or gimmicks.
No,
but now we've got a red phone and an abacus.
I was trying to figure something out.
Love it. Now if we could just figure out how to use that thing, right?
Yeah.
All right. So Chris, great to have you back. Supply Chain is Boring, one of our oldest series. Heck, Chris has been hosting shows since our infancy on the first episode. So tell us, focus on the last 100 episodes though, Chris. What's been a couple of your favorite moments there?
Well, I just wanted to wrap up. There was some discussion around veteran voices. That's always been a good one. The one, I don't know if Scott, you may have to recall if it's the right one, Patrick Nelson, but was he the one that was talking about he was doing online school in a combat zone? Do you remember that? I don't know if that was the one or not.
That's the one.
That is just a fascinating story, to say he's got the intestinal fortitude to study, when he could be sleeping, doing whatever. And, in the middle of the night when all of his soldier partners are going out and are sleeping or whatever, and he's sitting there trying to improve himself professionally. That was pretty cool.
Agreed. And he's got a very powerful story. Loyalty Point Leadership, I think, is his new startup consulting and professional education business. And he's just one heck of a guy, powerful story, and big fan of his journey forward. So let's do this. So vets2industry.com I did get that URL wrong. Y'all check that out, please. They need your support. They're really being a clearinghouse of information for all of our veterans. And on that note, we're going to take advantage. We're going to go ahead and bring Kevin L. Jackson into the stream here while we've got a little bit of his time. And we're going to capture as many of our hosts and team members as we can. So let's switch in Kevin L. Jackson, host of Digital Transformers. Kevin, good morning or good afternoon. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing? And happy 600th. I mean, wow, that's a lot. Television shows, they pray for 100 episodes so they can go to syndication and make lots of money. So, God, when are you going to get your big castle down there in Atlanta? Because you must be raking it in, man. 600. Wow.
Hey,
we can move out of Mom's basement now.
I'd be really happy just with a new battery for the truck after a little experience this week. My kids.
Hey, Kelly and Chris.
Hi, Kevin.
Oh, Greg's there too. Well, whatever.
So let's say hello. We got to acknowledge trying to as many people as we can here. T Squared is also with us. T Squared was one of our first viewers on YouTube, and that's his platform of choice, which is a good one here lately. So great to see you here, T Squared. And as Aaliyah says, hey, this feels like Thanksgiving round table. Loving it. All right. Good stuff there. All right. So we've got a takeaway from Kelly. We've got a takeaway from Chris. Before we go to Kevin, Greg, I want to put you on the spot. What if you think of the last 100 episodes, regardless of what channel, what's been one of your favorites?
Yeah, well, if I think of the last 100 episodes, I would have to say it's every episode of This Week in Business History, though that's not on the main channel. Man, what a surprise that is. First of all, it's a little bit of a breakout. It's not bounded by the supply chain, but it's such an incredible introduction and analysis. And then, so that as kind of a show, and it's 30 or however many episodes, it feels like 30, doesn't it? But
about 41.
And then, gosh, in the mainstream, there are just so many, but some of these ones that you've done recently, I'm not going to steal them, but some of these ones you've done recently with our community members, because I'm sure one of those is coming up. But that's been really fascinating. Always interesting to hear from folks like that. Any episode that Rick McDonald or Sandra McQuillan are on, two of the top chief supply chain officers on the planet, and Rick, of course, has the interesting story of Clorox, right? Who was they were even ahead of the game and still got caught out by this. He's very open and honest about that, and also about how they are recovering really well.
Excellent point. Great point. Because you're right. They were ahead of the game, knew what was coming, and were making huge adjustments. And it just shows you. I think Mike Griswold with Gartner came on one of his last episodes and said, "Hey, just because you've got a large, successful supply chain, you're not insulated from a lot of the challenges we've seen here." And no truer words have been spoken. So a lot of good stuff there. Kevin L. Jackson. So just here recently, we published an episode on AT&T, focused on digital transformation and supply chain, really business in general. That's been well received. But what's beyond that? What's been some of your other key takeaway or two from recent episodes?
Well, to be honest, I have to say it was the episode I did with Greg White. And I'm not saying it because he's sitting over there looking at me, right? But where in the world can you be on a show and start drinking tequila? We were sitting there
with eggs and bacon.
The first hint was that the name of the show was Tequila Sunrise, right? So, but who'd have thought you'd be drinking tequila at sunrise?
It's funny because Kevin, I was so intimidated by Kevin the first episode that he was on that I didn't even offer him tequila. And then off the air, after we had completed the episode, he's like, "Why didn't I get to drink tequila?" So we did the live stream, and I made sure that we did. So thanks for holding me accountable, Kevin. I really did.
No. But the thing is that I learned. First of all, one of the first conversations I had with Scott, it was like, "Hey, we do supply chain now." And I said, "I'm not a supply chain person. I don't know anything about supply chain," right? And he said, No. Well, we talk about business. And I said, "Oh, okay, I can talk about business." And,
you're letting all the negotiating stuff out there, Kevin. You're exposing me.
But we were first time I met him was in Arizona, and back when there were actual physical events, and I think that was really that was my first Supply Chain Now show, and that really was the most memorable. And the reason is because it was so much fun. We sat down and we just talked, and I talked a little about me, talked about him. I was born in Atlanta. We just covered the waterfront, and it wasn't like I was on video or anything. It was just I was sitting down with a long lost friend, and it was just so much fun. And so thank you, Scott. You made it so easy. And then, all the other shows, they've just gotten, I learned so much meeting a whole team, not just the host, but all the more important people that support. And when he basically said, "Hey, you're interested in doing a show," I was kind of, I was hesitant because I didn't know, how it would go. I know why would somebody want to listen or see me routinely,
What's going well?
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
The market's a test. It's the feedback we get both objectively and subjectively from the market. And that's what all four of y'all and the content you create and the conversations you lead, and the expertise that you share and help facilitate and help others learn and be better, more informed. That's one of the greatest parts of this whole journey, because the four of you are such pros. I want to go back before I share a couple comments here. But if you haven't checked out Kevin and Greg getting together, Kevin's got some very powerful elements of his story that he shares, and it is must hear. I was going to say must see TV. Must hear podcast.
That was pre-video. We were just doing podcast.
Yeah, it was just audio.
Yeah. But it's to have a great, globally known digital transformer, combine forces with, a very accomplished business leader like, Greg, who has been through plenty of rodeos, building, founding, building, exiting, you name it, a number of different technology businesses. That was two Wonder Twin powers activate, and combined with Kevin's journey was very powerful. Okay, I'm going to share a couple comments, and I want to circle back really quick to Kelly and Chris, and then we've got the fourth wave coming up, as we're going to be bringing Clay and Amanda into the stream. So y'all sit tight. We got a little bit of a rodeo going here. Azalea says, I'm still in awe of every conversation with Laura Cesari. She is amazing and so insightful. Agreed.
One of our producers, Natalie Dutton, said exactly the same thing. She said, I can't tell you which episodes, but everyone she's on. Right?
That's right. And, Corinne Bursa and Enrique Alvarez both couldn't join us here today. Corinne arranged for Laura to join us first time on the Buzz, and she's been back with us 3 or 4 times. And we're looking forward to some upcoming content featuring Laura, because, man, when she speaks, the world listens. And she's also very inspiring, as she shared last time. Hey, do what you can, and paraphrase, and do what you can to help others not quit, as she was talking about her journey. Mervin, great to see you, Mervin. Too many to remember. Hey, that is too kind. That is a very, I'll take vague compliments, folks, right? Let's see. Peter says, in Mexico, tequila goes with breakfast, so nothing wrong with that.
Nope,
Kevin
not
and
at
Greg.
all.
And Aaron's got a great comment here. Business is supply chain. Supply chain is business. Excellent point there. We're all supply chain people, as Jenny Froome puts it. Well put. Okay. Let's circle back one more time to Kelly. And Kelly, again, Dial P for procurement is taking off. We've got some big guests. We've had some big guests. We've got some big ones coming up. Excited about that. I learn something from you every time. Really procurement and beyond. I know that's a big forte for you, but what else comes out from this journey you're on here?
Well, you actually just mentioned Mike Griswold. I love having him in, because not only does he bring the broad analyst perspective, but I love the fact that he's focused on retail. And there isn't a more interesting space really anywhere right now. I mean, there's equally interesting spaces, but to me, retail is fascinating, and it's going through so much change that it's almost like you're trying to keep up so quickly with all the things that are happening, figuring out which of them are going to last. You need like a crystal ball. So I love it when Mike is in.
Yeah, agreed. And he can make the most complex problems, break it down into where even I can, slowest of us all, can understand it. So love that. By the way, Sophia is taking a sip of her Mexican water right now. And Gary
Smith, early in
Smith,
Guadalajara for that, even isn't it?
Gary says Laura is the E.F. Hutton of supply chain. I'm not sure. I need to do a history lesson. I'm not sure who E.F. Hutton is.
Oh, when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. I would think that was a commercial they played on. Yeah, I would have thought that would have been a commercial they played on the Andy Griffith show. So
I'm gonna look it up. All right. So
that is so true. I mean, we talk about influencers, right? People love to call us influencers, but I mean, you're really an influencer if you're like Laura or like Mike Griswold, or even like Kelly, who are shaping leaders in business, right? Who are helping leaders in business understand their role better, right? So that's so powerful.
Yeah. And for anybody that hasn't, get Laura's book. Azalea, check it out. Supply Chain Metrics That Matter. It's awesome because not only is it full of insight, it has like I don't know what word you'd use. It's like a fictional narrative. It's like a big, long book case study that teaches you everything. It's absolutely fantastic.
Hey,
yeah.
We need
supply chain novel.
Yeah, we need some supply chain fiction. a paperback.
Yeah.
I feel like we're living supply chain fiction right now.
All right. So
Could it really be true that a ship just blocked the Suez Canal? I mean, I wouldn't believe it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes.
no kidding. All right. So Christopher, coming back around to
Yeah.
the holder of the abacus, the doctor is in. So tell us, what's one more favorite?
Well, I just wanted to, speaking of E.F. Hutton and the whoever made that comment, you can check out an interview with him, Mr. Gary Smith. Supply Chain is Boring number 20. That was back in Feb 4. So I thought that was interesting. He's a pretty sharp individual himself. So check that out. But if I can this goes back, Scott, before pre 500, but just something that kind of I want to relate to everybody that it impacted me. I had a chance to interview Norman Bodek. I don't know if you remember him. His episode 237.
I almost mentioned that one, as a matter of fact.
It was pre time frame, but it was 237, 239, and 243. But the reason I bring that up is because you have an opportunity to meet people that you probably wouldn't through this podcasting opportunity. And I had a chance to interview him. We kind of made a connection, and then he unfortunately passed away in December of 2020. So what was neat is they actually asked me to come on, and based on the podcast and all the exposure we were able to give him, and be part of his online memorial service. So I felt pretty honored to be part of that crowd.
Wow, that's incredible.
And then one more thing, we just got a comment, Scott, on LinkedIn through one of our listeners, Suvesh Singh. He is with Maersk. And what's interesting about that, I have an affinity for containers and container shipping. Never been on a ship before, but he said he listens to the shows on the ship while he's traveling the world. I thought that was pretty cool.
Wow, that's impressive.
Wow, that is cool.
Yeah,
really cool.
And you've never been on a ship before? You mean? Do you mean
never been on like a commercial ship?
Really?
Container ship? Yeah, I've never been anything like that. Yeah, that's pretty neat.
It's hard to fathom how big they are.
I bet
it really is.
So
I've been on quite a few gray cruise ships.
Yes, you have. Floating cities.
Beautiful gray cruise ships, kind of amazing. They have an airport right on top.
And they come with a lot of extra chores than your typical cruise ship.
How hard is it to find that airport?
Well, it blends right into the scenery.
So going back a minute, Norman Bodek, that trilogy of conversations, it's wonderful. The stories he shares, and just he is such a titan of lean and beyond and business and beyond. So y'all check that out. And there's something else I'll share that Chris touched on, and I cannot remember what that is. I'll have to. Hey, it comes and goes sometimes, folks.
I wanted to throw a little shade over to Greg White. He's a pretty humble person, but back to what Kevin was talking about. I think it's interesting how he is able to connect with these C-level executives on his show. Going back, one of my favorites was the interviews he did with John Sicard. I don't know if you remember those, Greg, but those were pretty early on in Tequila Sunrise. Those were pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's funny. People say the same thing that Kevin said, that Scott makes it so easy, and he does. And he's taught all of us, I think, to make it easy for people. But I got to tell you, there are certain guests who make it so easy. The title of those, Violent Agreement. I think the publicity people at Kinaxis were glad that we didn't publish John and my pre-discussion, because we were somewhat less diplomatic about the status quo in supply chain technology. And they really kind of forced us to I don't know, that the way that we opened that conversation, Chris, was John said, I have some pretty controversial views you may not agree with. And the real irony was I completely agreed with. And that's how we came up with the title of those. It's funny.
And Scott, if I can give a little preview to a show that's probably coming up in a couple of weeks. I had an opportunity to interview Rebecca Costa. It hasn't been released yet, but just kind of foreshadowing. She is a futurist, just a business futurist. Think about, Faith Popcorn type of person. And if anybody knows who that is. So she it's just fascinating. She got to get her perspective on supply chain and what's going on in the next 10 to 15 years in that space. So I really look forward to that one. She's a little bit of a mini celebrity. Check her out on RebeccaCosta.com.
Outstanding. I love that. And
one thing I want to also highlight is
Yep.
that, I mean, you do a lot for supply chain, a lot for business, but over my head, you see a sign, Project Vet. You guys are doing a huge amount for veterans. And in fact, Project Vet was on a Veterans Voices about the work that they're doing. And partly because of the visibility they were able to get on that show, they were awarded $2,000 from AT&T Business to continue their work. So you guys are doing great work in a lot of different areas.
Well, we appreciate that. It takes a village and a team to make it happen. And I, that's where all these kindred spirits here amongst the folks you see here and the folks behind the scenes, a ton of common values for, not just the core of what we do, but using the platform we've really been building and investing to again, put the spotlight on the voices that got to be heard, and the ventures and entrepreneurs, you name it. So appreciate that, Kevin. On that note, and I know there's so much to talk about on a live stream episode like this, and I could spend all week with each of y'all here, and we still be working through some of the episodes. But I want to bring on a couple folks that don't get nearly the FaceTime and the visibility they should. So I want to welcome in our CMO Amanda Luton and the dog Clay Phillips. Hey, good afternoon.
Hey, how's it going?
Fantastic. Hopefully y'all been enjoying this rambling and wide-ranging conversation, but one full of love, as much as we have here over the last 40 minutes.
Yeah, well, I think we knew it was going to be a hodgepodge, right? But yeah, really happy to be here and glad everyone is getting to share for our audience.
Agreed. So let's add y'all's voices to the mix here, by the way. And we'll start with Clay. I mean, Amanda, for folks that haven't maybe heard the 600th episode that we dropped this morning, Amanda ran through about a list of 10 things that she's really taken away from the last 100 episodes.
She took away.
Thank you, Greg. But Clay, let's start with you. You have been involved in so many different aspects of the business here, and we don't get a chance. I think we featured you so far on one live stream. We need to do a better job of that. But what's been some of your favorite moments?
It kind of sucks going last because everything that we're planning on has already been said. But anything with Laura Ciceri, anytime she graces us with her presence, it's awesome. And I hope that we continue that for many, many more shows. Anything with Stephanie Stuckey, we've been working with her a little bit lately and getting to hear that origin story. And it's always fun when a narrative really comes into play and you get to learn someone's entire background and how they were brought to the place they are now. And then I have to say that most recently, my favorite episode is Delaney White's on Tequila Sunrise.
Why is that, Clay?
Just a real bombshell that one is.
So should we let?
He is in the other room.
I'll be hiding from you right now. Yeah,
I'll quit while I'm ahead. So,
well, quite very in all honesty and frankness, as we talked about on our team meeting earlier this week, or yesterday, I think it was, a dynamo. And that episode is such a good one. So I love that, and lots of key takeaways there. Okay, so Amanda, let's wrap.
Scott, real quick. Yeah. Do we have since the 500th show Clay was on? Doesn't he have another significant career milestone in his life? Or have we talked about that? I'm not sure.
Yeah. I don't know. It's almost like it didn't happen because there was no ceremony.
My God, you didn't get a participation trophy.
Yeah.
I did plaque behind your head. No.
Right. No corner office.
They sent me this little piece of paper in the mail. I'm not really sure what it is. I graduated from the University of Georgia since the 500th episode. So thanks for bringing that up, Chris.
Congratulations. That's really important milestone.
Well, yeah. And he got a new role with us, right? So he's our sponsorship leader. So
That's right.
fun working with him every day.
Learn
Money
a lot.
man.
Learn a lot from all of y'all, everyone here, and the folks who couldn't make it, and especially including Clay. So that's been great as well. And Gary Smith says this is starting to look like the Brady bunch. And let's see.
Marsha.
That's right.
Nick makes a great comment here, and Nick, we appreciate this and appreciate what you do. You talk about a great individual to connect with and follow on LinkedIn. A lot of good content. Nick Roomer, love the realness about the show, and I'm so glad that comes up because authenticity these days, there's not enough of it. And you got to do things from a production standpoint, and of course it needs to be polished and whatnot, but it's got to be real, right? It's got to be real, and that's what I'm really proud of. One of the things I'm really value about everyone you see here. Amanda made a great comment this morning. You get what you see, and that is such an important element when it comes to content and as you try to build it and promote it. So I appreciate all that authenticity all y'all bring to the table. Let's see here. The comment. I'm trying to keep up with the comments a bit. Peter says, and there you have it, Clay. You're going to eat good tonight and sleep well. Good point there. Okay, so before we get to Amanda, quick programming question right here out in the open. Clay, Corinne, do we have a little fabulous bean footage from Corinne Bursa?
Oh.
Well, hello there, supply chain movers and shakers. Corinne Bursa here, your host for Tech Talk, the digital supply chain podcast. And I'm here today to congratulate the entire Supply Chain Now team on hitting an important milestone, episode number 600. Wow, it seems like just a few weeks ago, we were celebrating the 500 mark. And now here we are at 600. So Scott asked about one of my favorite episodes in the last 100 or so episodes. And certainly there have been so many highlights, but one that I'd say really sticks out in my mind is the opportunity to introduce the Supply Chain Now community to industry trailblazer Laura Ciceri. And we did that in episode number 507. It was really special to me. I have known and admired Laura for more than 20 years, and still I learned so much about her in that Tech Talk podcast session. It was a really great way to see that real careers don't always progress in a straight line, but they can still have a tremendous impact. And since episode 507, Laura Ciceri has now been a recurring guest on Supply Chain Now, and she always delivers new insights or an interesting point of view. Her personal perspective is always interesting to hear. One of my other really fun memories is the very first Tech Talk live stream. That was episode number 579, where Scott Luton and I discussed the 5 leadership attributes to drive supply chain success with industry legend Jake Barr. The Supply Chain Now community engagement on the topic of leadership was just fantastic. And Jake didn't hold back anything. It was a great conversation. So again, congratulations to the entire Supply Chain Now team. I can't wait until we hit number 700.
Love that. And we hate that Corinne and Enrique and some of the others couldn't be with us here today, but appreciate that. All right. So
that's like the president phoning in during the Academy Awards. We're sorry, but Charlton Heston could not be here tonight.
I was thinking Bob Hope for some reason. That's such a great call out, Greg, as always. Great. Does this guy who is, let's see here. I think he's right here on my screen. I don't know about y'all, but always with the right thing to say at the right time. The guy, Greg, your timing is impeccable. Okay, so Amanda, you shared a lot on our podcast this morning. What's one neat takeaway for you?
So not to sound like a broken record,
I went into it a little bit more on the podcast episode, but obviously Laura Cesari has impacted all of us in the most positive of ways. Such a trailblazer, such a legend, such a wonderful guest. She always has something new and great to share. Recently, I've really enjoyed the RLA, the Reverse Logistics series. I started working in retail when I was 15, and at that time, and really up until, I don't know, 5 years ago, I never understood how retail is part of the supply chain. And so listening to that series and being a participant, in the retail world and that industry for such a long time, I just find it very fascinating. And maybe reverse logistics is kind of like it's the way that maybe you get your feet wet into supply chain if you're not familiar with it. Another couple of episodes I really liked, 551 with Hannah Kane, another really wonderful leader. Great. Which one of the quotes that we pulled from her episode, she said, "It's been proven that diverse businesses spread their profits back out to communities, and working with them is a way for corporations to help in diverse communities." I thought that was just a really great moment in that episode. I'll echo what Kelly said. I love any and all live streams and episodes that Mike Griswold is on. They're, again, not really having a career in supply chain myself. I love how he's able to simplify really complex topics and kind of break it down and make everything more understandable. So those live streams are really some of my favorites.
Completely agree. Hey, so
yeah.
Amanda, really quick, I can butt in for a minute because Kevin has got a big meeting to get to here momentarily, and I definitely want to give him an opportunity for a last word as the other six of us kind of wrap. But Kevin, love what Digital Transformers is off to such a fast start, a series of great conversations, a lot more to come. Any final words before you take off?
Well, one thing, once again, thank you all for all the support. And Scott, you've taught me a lot, and I really appreciate it. Digital Transformers, it's gotten off to really like a rocket start. And I'm getting so much feedback from my global audience, people in Europe and Asia and the Philippines and Japan talking about, "Oh, I saw you on Supply Chain Now." I said, "Wow." So I'm waiting for the tweet from Perseverance now. So thank you. And the other thing, better than all of you on the screen and a lot of other people is the audience. The audience has been superb and awesome. The interaction, the information, the insight that the audience is providing to us, when we're on these shows is just tremendous. So thank you to all you that are in the stream. Making comments and talking and giving us such insight into the real world. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much,
All
Kevin
right.
L. Jackson, host of Digital Transformers and
So
author.
I'm going to have to go, but thank you very much.
That's right. Click transform.
Bye, Kevin.
Thanks,
I
Kevin.
got to go
Bye,
transform
Kevin.
something
Bye,
else.
Kevin.
That's right.
All right.
See you, Kevin.
All right. So I want to touch on this. So all of us are huge fans of folks that show up in our community in the comments and bring it each and every time. I didn't have time to do graphics because these deserve graphics so we could put up visually, but we'll work on that next go around. These may cause each of y'all to kind of say, "Oh yeah." Charles Walker, quote, "We should be focused on creating more leaders, not followers," end quote. Mm-hmm. And by the way, no free willy dilly, he said. I love that. Charles was awesome. We got to have him back. Azalea Davis, your ears should stay on fire because we've talked a lot about what your comments you drop in here in your interview. She said, quote, "The pandemic has helped me challenge the fears and the doubts I have because other people are depending on me to get the job done, and they have fears as well," end quote. How about that for being empathetic and realizing that your fears aren't the only one, and you've got a job to do and help others get over their own fears and concerns. So, I mean, gosh, wise beyond her years. Amir Ganad, quote, no matter where you are in the organization, you can start a movement and begin to push for the right things to happen, end quote. That was wonderful. David and Meta Robinson was inside the last 100. The oldest son, I believe, of Jackie. I think he's the oldest son of Jackie Robinson. And, of course, Meta is Jackie Robinson's granddaughter. We named that. There's so many great quotes, Greg, came out of that. We named that one setting the gold standard for doing good and being the change, because that family, not only because everyone knows them of Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier in Major League Baseball, but what that family has continued to do and fight through and drive change globally in so many different areas is remarkable. Greg, do you want to comment on, I know you were a part of that. You want to comment on that one real quick?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, first of all, they moved back to Africa to help, right? That was the intent, was to go there and help. And then have gotten multiple generations involved in that. It is part of the family tree. Giving is part of the family tree. And they learned it from Jackie and his wife, who were very giving. They could have taken a lot of directions with the difficulties that Jackie went through and their family went through as he entered baseball. But they chose to be very giving and forgiving and caring people, right? Talk about giving forward.
Yeah. Well said, Greg, and an awesome interview. Gosh, I got so many. I know we're running out of time. I want to do another circle through everybody. Fred Tolbert, quote, have there been shortages? Absolutely. Do we expect to see hungry masses and rotting food? I don't think so. We're better than that, end quote. That's a bunch of hooey, he said a couple of times on the podcast. As
the
Greg,
Doc Holiday of supply chain.
But
right?
Speaking of Fred, and I don't think he's on the stream with us here today, but talk about give forward and giving back. I mean, he's been giving so much to supply chain students at his alma mater at UGA. Just as busy as his work life is, giving back and helping them teaching them and educating them, as well as, I'm sure, getting taught and learning from them, just as we've experienced with Clay and our associates and folks in the stream. One final thing. So David Kozan, and David, there's so much good stuff in our one-on-one interview, but one of the themes that I think we all appreciated here and talked a little bit about was how he used a frustration from his from a professional standpoint, shortages in production materials. He took that and used that as a springboard to kick off his supply chain management career. And he talked a lot about on that interview, the production floor and how those folks get overlooked a lot, folks that make things happen literally. And it's really neat to see some of the big problems and leadership things that David is tackling. So those are a couple of mine. There's some others that we just don't have time for. I hate to say that because folks, y'all know me. I'd like to take every single one of these episodes and steal every great comment and put it on a daggone billboard on 285 because that's how valuable these things are. But I'm a bit partial. So let's go back around. And there's some comments we'll get to here in a minute. But let's go back around and we'll start back with Chris. Chris, something you've seen, something you heard, something you were a part of. What's one more good takeaway?
Just one quick thing. Goes back to GW. When you think you've done good, do gooder.
That was a good one.
That was a good. And we were talking with, on that episode, Greg, Jordana Crow, right?
That's right.
Right? Founder of Gooder.
Yeah.
No,
That's
not
right.
Jordana Crow.
No. She's with Spend Management.
Jasmine Crow.
Jasmine Crow. You're right. The CEO of Gooder.
Yes.
GODDR.co.
Yes, y'all check that out. She and her organization have been on fire. I mean, they're doing some really big things. It's been neat to see TED Talk and big business partnerships. You name it.
But essentially, any show on what's Enrique's channel? What's he got there?
Supply Chain in Espanol.
No, the pre. It's the new one. That's
Logistics with Purpose.
Logistics with Purpose. Anything in that channel, check it out. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Excellent, Christopher. And by the way, I got to ask you, where did you exactly get that abacus? Did you have just one on hand?
I just made it. I just made it right as soon as Greg said it, and you didn't have one. I said I got one.
And does it have letters on the bottom? It's got letters
got
too.
It all moved letters and numbers. I don't know how to use it, but it looks cool.
See,
That's the doctor.
It's great.
Doctor's got to have the tools.
That's right.
That's
It's the
right.
simple things in life. It's like Greg's palette and Chris's abacus and the red phone there. Simple things in life. Okay, so let's just I'm gonna work back around here. Kelly Barner, such a neat conversation. I wish we had a couple more hours here, but anything else you'd like to share here today?
Yes, my favorite thing that you never hear on Supply Chain Now, on camera or off camera, is complaining. In all the time I've worked with you guys, Friday crazy team meetings, nobody ever complains. You listen to guests that deal with problems most of us have never thought about before. They're not complaining. The audience, right? We go through all different kinds of conversations. Nobody's ever complaining. We're realistic about the challenges that we're facing, but everybody is positive and solution oriented. And that is amazing to me. That is so impressive.
Supply chain people get done.
Yeah.
I lost your
I
audio
believe myself.
Love that.
No, that's a great observance.
It really is. You stop and think about it, and that's a great observation. And I think to Greg's point, I know he was kind of kidding, but I think that practical optimism is why you have so many outstanding problem solvers across global supply chain, right? Because it's got to happen. You got to find a way. Got to find a way. So, so great point there. All right, so let's go back to Amanda, and then I'm gonna wrap up with Clay and Greg, and then we'll take a couple more comments, and we'll call it a show. Amanda.
Yeah, I had one last quote from another episode that I really liked, which was actually it started as a live stream, then we published it as an episode with Polly and Patrick Canaxis, and had a great quote. Polly from Raleigh, Polly Mitchell Guthrie. She said that humans in supply chain have shown themselves this year to be far more resilient than any of us expected we could be. And I thought that was just, it's kind of a common sense statement, but it really is a statement about the ways that we've changed, the ways that we've adjusted, and we've done it, and we've gotten back to business with hardly any downtime. It's true for us as people. It's true for supply chain as an industry. We've seen it within our own business at Supply Chain Now, how we've had to kind of change directions. I won't use Greg's least favorite word. But we've changed directions, and we kind of changed what we've been doing. And our audience members, we've noticed people doing that in the community. But I thought I just loved that statement. I thought it was, I don't remember which episode that was, but it was a while back.
It was a live stream.
Their statement. Well, it was a live stream.
Yeah, with Patrick Van Hall.
Episode. Yep.
That's a good one. And
that's a great episode. It was a great live stream to experience in real time, but it ended up being a great podcast episode too.
Excellent point. And that kind of touches on, we'll be releasing a podcast interview with Theodora Lau, which is most recently the author of Beyond Good, a great Twitter follow. She's involved in a lot of different things. And one of her key lessons learned from the pandemic, she's a mother of two children, in addition to everything else she's doing, is that kids are more resilient than we ever thought. And, that gave me pause for a second, because that is a great learning from this time. So thanks for sharing that, Amanda. Clay Phillips, we're going to wrap with partner in crime, Greg White, the cleanup hitter. Clay, but you're in the 3-hole, Clay, by the way. You're Chipper Jones batted there for much of his career. So this is you're in a good spot. So Clay, what else sticks out to you?
Well, you kind of stole my thunder, because I was going to say opening day baseball is all I've got on. In all seriousness, where we're going, some of the more strategic partnerships that we're developing that are going to continue to allow us to shine the light and to be the voice and to do good, give forward, and be the change, and all the mantras that we really do embrace, and that and Scott, so appreciative of you for leading that and instilling that mindset in each and every one of us. So, I'm really excited about where we've been, but even more about where we're going.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Deeds, not words has been core to who we are from the earliest of days, as we're dragging a red wagon around through highfalutin office towers in Atlanta, where they don't like those wheels on their very expensive tiling. Talk about a constant lesson of humility. But really, deeds not words, regardless. And it's not all about our journey. It's about how can we use what we have to help others. So Clay, I really appreciate all that you've done. All y'all here. I can't thank each of y'all enough about where we've been and what we've done together and where we're headed next. So appreciate that, Clay. All right. So Gregory S. White. I won't give up any other details, I promise. What has been a key takeaway?
518-67. Yeah, you know what? In experiencing this show, it makes me think about what a tremendous platform this is, and I have two specific examples. One is very near and dear to my heart, and that is Stephen Smitley. Think about Stephen Smitley, who came to us on one of the Veteran Voices episodes. Severe PTSD, attempted suicide twice, was clearly lost as an individual. Took up amazing, by the way, head-banging music to help express himself. Disciples of Danger, right? So check them out on YouTube. Amazing. First of all, amazing music. Overcame that. And with just the slightest nudge from Scott, and I recognized that he was being undervalued at his current position and now has a business of his own. So from being on a podcast, that kind of change can occur for you. And it made me think of one of my early favorite episodes, which I think was episode 1 or 3. When I was a guest, not a host, right? When I was the CEO at Blue Ridge, a company that literally had no voice in industry, but had disruptive and innovative and status quo breaking ideas and no way to get the word out. And what an incredible platform sitting down with somebody and sharing your story is, and how that can change lives and how that can change companies and how that changes and builds relationships, and just what a powerful platform we have here. I mean, think of all the people that we've met, people I've spent so much time talking to, that when I physically meet them in person, like Jeff Miller, when we did our headshot meeting, I didn't even shake his hand because I thought we had already met. I didn't even realize we had never met before. I wanted to give him a big old hug, right? But I mean, this is such a powerful platform for you as a person, for you as a professional, for your company and its voice in the marketplace, for getting the word out about supply chain and about what supply chain means to the business. The supply chain is the business, and not to leave out procurement, because I know Kelly and I have a differing view on how supply chain procurement kind of coexist, but they are an important part of keeping things moving. Both are, right? And it's just such an incredible voice. And Scott, you have provided that voice. You personally, Scott Wyndon Luton, you are the voice of supply chain, and we all owe you a big thank you for that.
Can we do this for Vicky?
I was just gonna say,
I think Trisha,
this is for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Trisha.
So well said. But Kelly, it's always nice to reference our controller. It's really important. So I appreciate you sharing that.
That way we keep getting paid.
That's right. But it is all of us, and that's one of the things that binds us together, along with our community, along with our guests, is we're passionate about this, right? We're passionate about sharing the best practices and the experiences and the mistakes, right? And how you got around them, because we're all, you're not making mistakes. You're playing way too safe in life. And, that's a very powerful common bond that we have. There you go, Trisha. And thanks for what you do. Tell you, Trisha is master of our calendars, and I think she's got several clones as hard as she works. So I really appreciate that. But love this journey. We could, the music's starting to play in my ears, so I've got to wind it up. But outstanding. Really appreciate y'all jumping on here. Appreciate all of y'all sharing some of your key takeaways. I really appreciate all the comments. I know we didn't do a good job getting to so many of them, but really appreciate this journey with each of y'all. I do want to share our dear friend. Let's see if I can find it really quick. AA, who holds down the fort in the air capital of the world. Way to go! We're all with you. That is a wonderful sentiment.
Brings tears to my eyes.
Well, and vice versa. We want to, as we've grown, we're going to invest more in this engine, and we're only going to be able to share more stories and thought leadership and from different parts of the world, and really excited about what lies ahead. So, agreed. Yeah, Azalea, who have shared that. It wasn't my fingers. Who did that?
I did that. That's what you get for giving me access.
You knew you wouldn't share it. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. But it's all about team. Jenny Froome's with us. Together, everyone achieves more. I've heard her say it 1,000 times, and it's so true in this life. So, all right. So, folks, we could keep talking for hours. I'm gonna pull over here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thanks for being a part of this journey. Thanks for being a part of what comes next. And stay tuned. We got some really cool things up our sleeves. So on that note, on behalf of Greg White, Clay Phillips, Amanda Luton, Kelly Barner, and the doctor, Chris Barnes. Hey, best of wishes wherever you are. But most importantly, do good, give forward, and be the change that's needed. And on that note, we'll see you next time here on Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.